This is it. This is the latest car. I have to say, if any car lends itself to the Singer treatment, it's the Turbo, isn't it? Because it's got the arches, it's already got the width, and now you can exaggerate that.
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
Well, the 930 Turbo. I mean, for our generation, Chris, perhaps the pin-up air-cooled 911. I had one on my wall. I loved the idea of it. It was Porsche's first supercar. And we wanted to try and respectfully and sincerely and authentically bring it into the new world with a bit more performance and fixing a few things, but as usual, trying to retain the essence of what made the 930 so special. It had a lot to do with width, it had a lot to do with turbo lag, and it had a lot to do with all sorts of things back in the day. And we've tried to give the car a comfortable stance and have it sitting comfortably on its wheels without too much effort.
There's something about the wider axles of the Turbo that mean that it looks more contemporary than a 3.2 Carrera looks like quite an old car.
Yep.
But a later G50 box, particularly 89 Turbo, to me doesn't look that old.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because the wheels really fill the arches, don't they? You've now got a bigger front arch to play with.
Yes. You know, to get a car to sit right, it's very helpful to have a little bit of offset on the wheel and have a little bit of wheel barrel. So we've worked hard to define a Fuchs that has a little bit of barrel on the front and the back. Of course, the back is less of an issue.
Well, I didn't think you could get any more dish on a wheel than that. He calls it barrel. It's a great word, barrel.
You know, it's got to look like a turbo because it's a Porsche Turbo, right? And there are things that we need to get right and things we need to press the emotional buttons with and get right, and there are things that we need to leave well alone.
That car, even though it was a celebration of an older looking car, there was elements of it that looked factory. That's what you've done with this.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you get these finishes? This is your interpretation of the ironically impact bumper.
Yep.
How long does it take to get these finishes?
We clay modeled this car for 2 years, and we obsessed about all sorts of things like the bumper to body seal, and it was the impact bumper. So these concertinaed on the original cars, and gave the car some parking protection. Rethinking them and bringing them and making them both an energy absorber and an exit for some heat, because obviously we've got the turbos down there, seemed like an obvious thing to do to me. And the finish is a rubberized paint finish. So the parts are carbon fiber.
Paint that on?
Yes. And it's very protective, and it feels like rubber, and it allows us to get the kind
It's got a lovely, lovely resistance. You just touch it, there's a bit of a tackiness to it.
Isn't it? Yeah. Soft touch kind of rubberized paint, and that allows us to get the gaps. Rubber's much heavier, of course, and it shrinks, makes these gaps and these tolerances very hard to pin down.
Does this excite you as much?
Oh yeah, because this allows us to go bonkers, and get everything right.
What I love about it is I see in the cars that you do, I see, like all car nerds, there were shapes and surfaces that you saw in the Turbo, and they were outside in it and inside,
right?
And you've played with them and added your interpretation to them, but also it's a celebration, it's an homage. And the other one, for me, in this car, you've got these shapes, these are obvious.
Yep.
This is obvious. The seat bolsters.
Yeah.
The seat bolt, I can just imagine, when I saw the first shot, I was like, I know he spent ages grinning about this. Let's have a look at the seat bolster.
But there are so many,
so distinctive.
If you think a lot about these cars, there are elements of the car that you've just got to. The original sports seats that weren't always fitted to early turbos had this very square.
It was square,
section,
wasn't it?
And they looked. They call them tombstone seats, didn't they? They were rather straight and stiff on the upper half, but this was lovely. So we retained this, and we wanted to get some contemporary Porsche trimming. This is very much an homage to the 1975 turbo seat.
And also, the classic here with the seat that you had on it was your interpretation of a seat. It fitted the car perfectly. I love the electrical adjusters on this.
Right.
Because that was, again, that's just pure 80s, isn't it?
It is, and why those lovely circular buttons with the arrows on.
The way they move.
Yeah, lovely. They're kind of sprung nicely. I mean, they're iconic. I mean, it's an overused word, but there are so many corners of the Turbo that are just carved from a time and a moment in the 70s that have to be celebrated, right?
Yeah.
The Turbo needed to sit on its wheels a little bit better. Those big wheel arches were making promises that the wheels couldn't keep. I think in those days.
Good phrase.
And we've tried to fix that a little bit. The car's much wider than a regular Turbo. It's about 30 millimeters wider at the back and 20 at the front.
How do you get the proportions so right? I'm sounding a bit of a sycophant now, but you do.
Wheels, we start with the wheels. I mean, the difference between the Classic and a Turbo is the Classic's on 17s, the Turbo's on 18s. These are the same wheel and tyre specs as our DLS, the Dynamic Lightweighting Study. So it's got 245s and 295s on the back. So it's a bigger wheel, which allowed us a certain amount of challenges to make the car sit comfortably on the 18-inch wheel. But yes, starting with the wheels and tyres. Get the wheels and tyres right, half the battle. And getting them in the right spot. And then dressing them and just creating a surround for the wheels and the tyres especially is job number one.
Is that specific to Porsche shapes, or is it for all shapes?
All shapes.
All shapes. Because these look like they're melted over the wheels to me.
I think most car designers would say that it starts with the rubber, how the tyre sits on the rim, gives a certain amount of tension to the thing, and then you're off to the races.
How did you reach this solution to the front end? Again, it's this. If it had been OEM back in the day, this is what it would look like. Look, because it looks like it's almost a factory solution.
Yeah.
But of course it's radically different to the original car.
Yeah.
But somehow it looks like it might have been. How do you do that?
We have to spend a lot of money developing new lights.
Yeah.
You can imagine the commitment and the cash required to do that, which is pretty unpleasant.
I might have had a little go in it already, and I'm going to hopefully have a better go in it quite soon. The character of the car is in keeping with Turbo. It's a bit more GT than out-and-out sports car.
Right.
Loads of torque, fewer gear changes, but it's mighty fast.
Yeah.
It is mighty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's got over 500 horsepower and about 2,700 pounds. It's going to be bloody fast. Mahler have done a great job on the engine management. It's got ABS traction control and ESP from Bosch. It's got everything we can do to make it a long distance thing that you want to travel with a partner maybe, and go to fantastic places and have some experiences in. The same could be said for the Classic as well. It's a little bit more frenetic, a little bit more visceral. And the idea was to turn the volume down a little bit, but not lose the excitement.
First time we recorded something about one of your cars, you told a lovely romantic story. It wasn't a story, it was the truth, about how you'd got some modelling clay together in a room and you'd spent ages agonising over wheel arch shapes.
Yep.
And effectively, like all great ideas, you just had the balls to get on and do it. And what you ended up with was a car that captivated, I think, and really touched a nerve. So much so that about 100 people have tried to imitate you since. But that was born out of simplicity and passion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's gone from this at all, it's the same thing. But now you're making something that's a bit more grown up. Are you staggered by how involved the process is and how much you have to do this? Because at the beginning you didn't do it with that, did you?
I mean,
but with this, the testing, it's incredible.
I've managed to relieve myself of some of those duties.
That's what I was touching on.
The greatest thing that's ever happened is that we've managed to surround us, Maz and I have managed to surround ourselves with people who are actually very good at doing a specific jobs, which is something that we weren't very good at back in the early days. We were doing everything. And we weren't very good at doing everything. We were good at doing some of the stuff maybe, but the cars are just benefiting from process and from proper expertise in areas where we clearly were not experts in, really honing the dynamics of a car. It's the most complete car we've ever done. I mean, there's a massive amount of lessons learnt in this thing.
Part of the reason for coming here was to understand how far a company's come. That first little shed with the cars was a sort of an assembly point of bits that not everyone knew where they were coming from. It was lovely and mad.
Yes.
This feels very grown up to me. I've been taken aback today. I didn't realise the scale of it. Mm-hmm. It is pretty awe-inspiring when you see it. You realise how many people want your cars, which they should do, but it doesn't feel like a car factory. It doesn't feel.
Well, that's good.
It doesn't feel too sterile.
Good.
And I still think there's some of that California madness in it.
And you realise that it takes an absolute army to do something as ostensibly simple as restoring a beautiful old Porsche 911, and to do it in a way that is repeatable, that retains the wonderful essence of hand-built artisanship, which I think we've jealously guarded here. If you look at what's going on here, it's the same kind of commitment that was going on 13, 14 years ago. There's just more of it happening, and it's just happening in a more organised way. And it's the testament to Maz and Jason Franklin, our COO, that we've managed to make sense of an idea that we knew was a strong idea, but we certainly didn't think it would turn into this, which is what I'm asked most often. It's got to be as close to perfect as possible, and I've started using the perfect word because yeah, it's a horrible word. That's what we're chasing, and I've always said no, nothing. And the cars are not perfect. There's no way they are. Nothing is, and you don't want it to be, but everything really is important, and we've got to keep an eye on everything. And the stuff that makes people go to bed sleeping well and thinking about their car is the shit that we love, right? It's the finishes and the way parts come together. I mean, there's joy in innocent little moments like that, how a door closes and the trim and the wheels and how the tyres look, and this is the stuff that inspired me. Now we have the ability to really chase all the other stuff, which is beautiful engineering underneath the car, proper parts that go together beautifully, that have been engineered by people who really know what they're doing, and of course the car benefiting as a result in terms of not just how the car feels and how the car is going to endure, but how the car goes down the f***ing road, which is the main thing.
Fabulous motor car.